This video tutorial will walk you through how to install the Reaction Time Reader for your RaceBase software. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we've got the latest version. If you've got the latest version, you'll see the Reaction Time button up there. You can also go to Settings and check for updates to download the latest version. So the first thing we want to do to install is click on Reaction Time button. We do not have data yet, so we're going to scroll down and get to the Setup section. So the first thing we're going to do is install the Reaction Time Reader itself. So once we've done this, we've already created the variables. We've also placed them inside of some of the default views that you've got. If you're not using one of those default views, then you need to go adjust that now. And if we actually go click on this and go to Add Run, you'll see that now we have reaction time data right here for the drivers adjusted, driverless, car adjusted, and track. And then we've got the setup data here, which is going to be the stuff that we're going to input each time. So that's automatically been added to us for convenience. If we need to change the view because we are not using one of the default views, you'll have to go to Views, come to the view that you are using, and then make sure that you add the Reaction Time Reader data and setup to the category list for your particular view. Alright, so once step 1 is done, we can move on to step 2. Step 2 is going to be installing the video program. So go ahead and click on this button. This will require you to be connected to the internet, so if you're not connected to the internet, hit OK real quick and go connect to the internet and then try it again. So what we're going to do is click on this Download VLC Media Player, and when the window appears, we're going to make sure it's saving in the download section, and we're going to hit Save. I've already got it here, so I'm going to hit Yes to replace it. After saving, we want to click on the File Explorer on the bottom. So I'm going to hit OK here, and on the File Explorer right here at the bottom, I can come over to where it says Downloads, and now I see VLC Media Player. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click that to install it. It's going to ask me if I want to make this, allow this app to make changes. Hit OK, hit Next, 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 or Install. We're going to let it do its thing up here and install. And once it's done, we're going to hit Finish. And for the meantime, we can actually close that out. So, and now we also see that we've got an icon on our desktop over here. So what we want to do next is go ahead to number 3. Now number 3 is a little bit different because this is going to require you to have administrative privileges. So the first thing we have to do is close the program. We're going to go over to our RaceBase and we're going to right click, show more, and if it's not run as administrator, then go to show more options, and then we want to click run as administrator. It's going to ask this right here. We're going to say yes. Now it's going to reopen the software. We're going to go back to our Reaction Time Reader, and now we're going to hit install special video plugins. Now that we are in admin mode, the plugins have installed successfully, and now we can move on to the next step. Okay, so step 4 is going to be setting up the video program. So to do that, what we're going to do is come over to our VLC Media Player and double click it. Then we're going to go to View, and we're going to click on Time V3.2. Over here, we're going to make sure that this checkbox to enable interface is enabled, and we're going to hit Save. And it's going to tell you, please restart VLC to make the changes take effect. So we're going to close that, open it back up. Now we're going to go back to View, Time V3.2. If your position does not say bottom left, then we want to select bottom left, and we want the only thing in this area to be just this E section right here. Once that's done, go ahead and hit Start, and then you can close it. The 5th step in the Reaction Time Reader is to install the hardware. For the Junior Dragster, this includes a wing mount kit for the camera as well as a flag for the carburetor. So here the first step we need to do is make sure that we use the included hardware to mount the camera mount to the bracket before we install the bracket. You will not be able to install this camera mount onto the bracket once the wing is on the car. Next, we're going to remove the bolts for the wing, slide them back in, and get everything secure. We want to make sure that the wing mount is not touching the wing whatsoever, and it has got some room so that it's not going to hurt your wing whatsoever. Now we want to grab our GoPro mount. We need to make sure that we're using the mount with the rubber piece inside that will lock it into place. And then just slide it right in and push the rubber piece down to lock it in. Next we have our 42mm flag with the hardware kit. Comes with a bolt, a lock nut, a washer, and a specialized washer that is going to go inside of the throttle assembly. If you look, that piece is exactly the right shape so that we can actually utilize it to hit the throttle and move the throttle whenever we're acting as the crew chief. When we install the flag on the 42mm, we have to put the specialized washer in between the bracket. Then we want to put the small washer on the bolt, slide the bolt through, and then get it so that the bolt is all the way through and kind of recessed inside of that bracket. When you're opening the throttle, you'll notice that that white section will stay still at a certain point, and if you do not have the washer in the correct way, you won't be able to get the bolt all the way in where it needs to be, and that bolt will kind of rub up against that white section. So you want to make sure that that is clear. And now you've got your 42mm flag installed as well. Step number 6 is setting up your GoPro. So the first thing we want to do is turn on the GoPro and then hit the standard button at the bottom. Then we're going to swipe down until we see slow-mo mode and go ahead and select on slow-mo mode. We want to make sure that it has the number 240 in there to indicate 240 frames per second. Then swipe down from the top, click on the quick capture, turn the screen lock on, and then turn the orientation lock on. Once you do this, it's going to lock the screen, so you're going to have to push on it, swipe down to unlock, and then push on to unlock. Once it's unlocked, we want to go ahead and swipe left or right to make sure that we're on video mode. And once we're on video mode, we're going to hold down the power button on the left-hand side to shut the GoPro down. Now, once you're in race mode, all you have to do is push on the top of the red button one time, quickly, and it will automatically turn itself on and start recording. And you can see that it's recording by looking at the top of the screen, and you'll see that little red section indicating how much time it's recording for. Now, to stop the recording, all you have to do is push and hold on the top red button for 3 to 5 seconds, and the unit will stop recording and power off. Okay, how to log your reaction time reader data. This is actually a pretty simple process. It just takes a little bit of time. So the first thing we need to do is take the GoPro off the car, take the micro SD card out and place it into your computer with an SD card adapter. Then we're going to go to the File Explorer, which is the folder icon at the bottom of your screen. And we're going to scroll down to our USB drive and go into our GoPro directory and then double click on the file that we want to open. Once we do this, we'll see that we now have a timestamp area here. This is in seconds and milliseconds, and the goal is to allow the video to continue to play until you see the second amber about to go out. When that happens, we want to hit the space bar on the keyboard, and that is going to pause the video. So as you can see here, release the kids. Rowan's going into pre-staged, he's pre-staged, going into stage, and now my hand is on the space bar getting ready. Alright, so we paused it right before that third amber came on. Now what we're going to do is hit the E key on the keyboard, and as you can see here, that is going to move it 0.004 of a second at a time. And the goal is to keep hitting this E key until we see that third amber come on. When we see that third amber come on, don't hit the E key again. There it is. So 34.579. So if I was coming over to the RaceBase and adding a run, I would come here and type in 34.579. Now we need the reaction time throttle. So we would come over here, and the goal is to find a spot where when it crosses a certain threshold, we are counting that as a movement. So basically I like to find, and I'll hold something up on the screen right here. I'll use the mouse temporarily, and we're going to hit the E key here. And once that line, the middle line, crosses where this mouse is currently here, right there, 34.754. So now I'll come back over to the RaceBase, type in 34.57, oh, what was the number? 30.754. 754. Now when I hit submit and I scroll down, I have a driver's reaction time of 175. Now, I know for Rowan's practice tree that our goal driver reaction time is actually a 0.148. So if I were to update this with a goals driver reaction time, it's now going to give me an adjusted driver reaction time, and now I know that on that pass, Rowan was a 0.27 as if he was hitting his practice tree. Now that we have everything installed and the program set up correctly, we're ready to really start taking advantage of this reaction time data. Now, one of the downfalls of the data is that we are getting a number of how many milliseconds it takes for us to actually react to that bulb. What does that relate to when it comes to our practice tree, especially when it comes to third bulb or foot brake racers? So one of the most important aspects of this is to set up a practice tree in the car and then utilize the exact same process we would on the racetrack to figure out what perfect on the practice tree would be. Now, what we would do here is we would have somebody hold the practice tree up in the air so that the camera can capture both the practice tree and the throttle flag. And after each pass or after each hit on the practice tree, we're going to say aloud what that reaction time was. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our worksheet here. We're going to fill out our raw bulb and our raw throttle. And then we're going to fill out what our actual practice tree value was. And when we do that, we're able to start getting a really good idea as to what this perfect light is. And once you get enough data, you end up finding that it turns out to be pretty accurate within about 0.004 of a second, which is what our plus or minus is. Now, once we have the perfect light, now we have the ability to put in that as our driver's goal reaction time. And basically what we're saying, if your driver's goal reaction time is a 145 and they've got a 155, well, it means they had an 010 light. And now you know what to do based on what happened on the actual ET slip, based on your driver being right where they're supposed to and having an 010 light. If you have a great light, but you see your driver was a 060, well, you know the second your driver comes back, that great light's going to turn into a red light. And that's where you can really start to utilize this system to your advantage and utilize this data to your advantage.